It started with an ice cream truck. Not a fight. Not a law broken. Just a melody. A jingle that had signaled joy for generations of children. That day, the song drifted through the neat hedges and manicured sidewalks of Willow Creek Estates like a breeze carrying childhood itself. My daughter Amara, 7 years old with dreams bigger than our cul-de-sac, was playing hopscotch in our driveway. Her giggle was light, her joy contagious, and the second she heard that familiar tune, she lit up like sunshine through stained glass. "Ice cream!" she shouted, gripping her coins tightly, her little sneakers smacking the pavement as she raced to the sidewalk. Her voice, high and unfiltered, echoed down our pristine, rule-obsessed neighborhood. That was her crime. Being happy, being loud, being seen. Before she could even reach the curb, a silver BMW screeched to a stop in front of our house. The window rolled down, and there she was. Victoria Klein, HOA president, queen of bylaws, arbiter of smiles apparently. She didn't look at Amara like she was a child. She looked at her like she was an infestation. Her platinum bob barely moved as she sneered, "Young lady, the noise ordinance clearly states no shouting outdoors before 10 a.m. or after 7 p.m. And that truck shouldn't even be here. Section 12, commercial vehicles are prohibited." Amara froze. Her joy disappeared like a blown-out candle. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Klein. I just wanted ice cream." Her voice was soft, shrinking. Victoria's lips curled in distaste. Children today have no respect for rules. Her fingers moved quickly on her tablet. "That's violation number 3 for your household this month, Miss Johnson." I stepped out onto the porch, biting down my fury. She's 7, Victoria. She's excited about ice cream. Not tagging a wall, not vandalizing your roses, just excited. Victoria turned to me slowly, her eyes scanning me like I was something scraped off her designer shoe. "Rules exist for a reason, Nadia. Perhaps if you had a husband to help with discipline, your daughter might understand boundaries better." Her words were sugar-coated poison. I said nothing. I was used to this, her side comments, her condescending tone, the implication that as a single black mother, I was somehow lesser. Since the day we moved into Willow Creek, we felt the stares, the whispers. But Victoria didn't whisper. She documented. Every little thing Amara did was another tally on her HOA report. Every toy left in the yard, every chalk drawing on the sidewalk, every sound of laughter. We weren't just breaking her precious rules, we were violating her sense of control. "Ice cream truck's leaving," I told Amara gently. "Come inside, honey. We've got popsicles in the freezer." Amara nodded, her pigtails bobbing as she turned away from the curb. As Victoria drove off, I caught her glance in the rearview mirror. Calculating. Cold. Like she was making a mental note of something. I should have recognized the danger in that look. I should have known that for people like Victoria, rules weren't about order. They were about power. And some people, when they feel that power slipping, are willing to do anything to keep it. Anything. Amara had always been drawn to music like a flower to sunlight. Even as a toddler, she could hum a song after hearing it once. Music was her safe space, her secret language, the magic she used to process joy and pain alike. After my divorce, her songs kept our home alive. On hard days, she would sing to me from the bathtub or the back seat, filling the silence with hope. So when her school announced a children's choir performance at the Willow Creek Community Park, Amara threw herself into practice with more determination than I'd ever seen. She sang at breakfast. She sang in the car. She sang while brushing her teeth. And she was good. Not just cute kid good. Really, truly good. Her voice had this purity, this emotion that made you stop and listen. Her music teacher even gave her a solo, What a Wonderful World, as the grand finale of the children's set. She was over the moon. The morning of the concert, She twirled around our living room in a new blue dress, hair freshly braided, clutching her sheet music like it was treasure. "Do you think people will like my solo, Mummy?" I smiled, fixing a stray curl behind her ear. "They're going to love it, baby. Your voice is magic." The park was already filling with folding chairs and excited families when we arrived. I sat front row, camera ready in hand, watching as the kids took their places. The children's choir was the opening act for the community symphony, a long-standing Willow Creek tradition. Residents came with picnic baskets and wine glasses, applauding politely and judging silently. It was the kind of event Victoria Klein lived for. When Amara stepped forward for her solo, the crowd hushed. The music started. And then, her voice. Soaring, clear, rich with emotion no 7-year-old should possess. Yet there it was. She sang about trees of green and skies of blue, and for a few minutes, every adult forgot their lawns and property lines. Grown men wiped away tears. Mothers held their children tighter. Her voice didn't just carry the tune, it carried hearts. All except one. In the VIP section, Victoria sat rigid, her eyes narrowed to slits. She didn't clap, she didn't smile. She whispered furiously to the other board members beside her. And when the children took their bow and the music teacher announced a short intermission before the symphony, she didn't rise to congratulate anyone. She sat seething, watching. Amara turned to me, glowing. "I need to use the bathroom, Mummy." "I'll take you." She shook her head. "I'm a big girl. The bathrooms are right there." She pointed to the public restrooms behind a row of hedges. I hesitated. "Please, Mummy. I'll go straight there and straight back." I nodded. She skipped off in her blue dress, disappearing behind the greenery, humming to herself. 15 minutes passed, then 20. I went to check. The women's restroom was empty. Panic hit like cold water. I called her name. Nothing. Security was alerted. Police arrived. Search parties were formed. The concert was shut down. The park locked down. News helicopters buzzed overhead as Amara's photo flashed on screens. She was still smiling in that picture, still glowing from her solo. But she was gone. It was as if she had vanished into the air. I scoured every corner, every tree, every bench. Strangers joined the search. But one person was conspicuously absent, Victoria Klein. All the other HOA board members were helping, but not her. Her silver BMW was still parked in the VIP section, untouched. She was nowhere in sight. Something twisted in my stomach. Earlier that week, I had overheard her say something to another board member. "That Johnson girl's solo. It's not the image of Willow Creek we want to project." At the time, I'd brushed it off. Now I couldn't. I walked to her car, looked through the windows, back seat empty, passenger side clear. Then, I heard it. Faint. A soft tapping. I pressed my ear against the trunk. "Amara?" Another tap. Then a whisper. "Mommy." My scream shattered the quiet. "She's in here. Help. Please, someone help." Officer Michaels rushed over. "Are you sure?" I pointed. "Listen." Everyone heard it now. Tapping. Weak. Rhythmic. Desperate. They found Victoria in the park's admin building. She was calm, collected, denying everything. "She's making wild accusations," she said. "There's no child in my trunk." Officer Michaels asked for her keys. "I've misplaced them," she replied smoothly. A firefighter stepped in. "Stand back." He used a crowbar from his truck. The trunk popped open with a metallic groan. Inside was my baby, curled into herself, soaked in sweat, lips cracked, eyes barely open, her beautiful blue dress stained and twisted. The trunk was a furnace, no air, no light, just darkness and heat. She had been locked in there for 9 hours. Later, the officer asked Victoria why. Her response was chilling. Her voice was disrupting the community's harmony. Some children need to learn they should be seen and not heard. And just like that, it was no longer about ice cream. It wasn't even about music. It was about control, about silencing anything that dared to shine too brightly in a place built to keep people like us in the shadows. A year passed. Seasons shifted. Holidays came and went in muted tones. And through it all, Amara remained silent. The child who once filled rooms with song now carried notebooks instead of melodies. She wrote her feelings in pictures and short sentences. At school, she communicated through glances and nods. Even at home, the quiet stretched between us like fog, thick, unspoken, and heavy. Every night I would hear echoes of her old voice in my mind. The way she used to hum while brushing her teeth. How she'd harmonize with the birds outside our window. Now those sounds had been replaced by silence. A silence that screamed of trauma, of something stolen. Her therapists explained it as selective mutism, an anxiety response so profound that her mind had created a wall between her thoughts and her voice. They said it might pass in weeks, or months, or years. There was no timeline for healing, and that hurt more than anything, not knowing if my daughter's voice would ever return. But I refused to let that silence win. After the trial, Willow Creek was no longer the same. The story of what happened to Amara had ignited outrage beyond our neighborhood. National headlines exposed Victoria Klein's crimes. She had kept journals, meticulously written notes on how she disciplined children who didn't fit the image of Willow Creek. She'd locked at least 22 children over the course of her 12-year reign as HOA president. Children of color, children with disabilities, children from single-parent homes, always the ones she believed didn't belong. Families who had once whispered about her behind closed doors now stood on street corners holding signs. The city council, once under her thumb, launched a full investigation. It turned out complaints had been buried, code violations weaponized, tax audits mysteriously triggered against those who dared to challenge her. But justice, at last, had prevailed. The jury didn't need long, 3 hours. The judge handed down a 36-year sentence. 1 year for every hour Amara spent in that trunk. Afterward, the entire structure of the HOA was torn down. Residents voted to disband the board. In its place, they built something new, a community council with term limits, checks and balances, and most importantly, diversity. I was asked to serve as vice chair of community inclusion. It wasn't a title I ever sought, but it became a mission. If Amara had to suffer, then at the very least, her pain would build something better. Our first action was to dissolve the bloated aesthetic improvement fund, the one Victoria had used to renovate her kitchen, install fountains, and maintain her pristine lawn. We redirected that money to something real, something healing. We called it Every Voice Matters, a program dedicated to providing music and art education for every child in Willow Creek, no matter their background. We brought in therapists, teachers, musicians. We gave kids instruments and notebooks. We created a space where children could be loud, creative, and unafraid. For a while, Amara just watched. She would attend some sessions, sit quietly in the back, sketch while others sang or played piano. I never forced her. I let her move at her own pace. Until one spring afternoon, exactly 2 years after that horrific day in the park, she came to me with a calm I hadn't seen in years. "I want to sing again," she said softly. My heart skipped. "Where, baby?" She looked me in the eye. "At the park, at the concert. I need to finish my song." I froze. The same concert, the same event where it had all gone so wrong. I wanted to shield her, to protect her from the weight of that place. But I saw it in her gaze. She wasn't asking for permission. She was taking her voice back. That evening, the park was transformed. Word had spread that Amara would sing. Residents came with folding chairs and picnic blankets, but this time there were no whispers, no disapproving glances, only support. Local news crews returned. So did families of Victoria's other victims, people who had once stayed silent, but now stood tall. When the MC called Amara's name, the audience grew quiet. She stepped onto the stage in a new blue dress, the same shade as the one from 2 years ago. Her hair was longer now, her posture more steady, but her face, it carried the weight of someone who had known darkness and chosen to walk through it anyway. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and then she sang. Her voice, no longer the tiny sound of a 7-year-old, had grown. It was richer, steadier, deeper. It wrapped around the audience like a warm blanket, rose into the sky, carried not just notes, but truth. As she sang "What a Wonderful World," the same song that had once angered a woman enough to silence her, the very park that had witnessed her suffering now bathed in her triumph. People wept openly. Children clapped. When she reached the final note, there was a moment of stillness, like the world itself paused. And then a standing ovation thundered across the park. Not out of politeness, but out of awe. She had not only reclaimed her song, she had transformed it into a statement, a declaration. You did not break me. I am still here, and I am louder than ever. As we walked home that evening, hand in hand, the twilight casting long shadows across the street, Amara turned to me and asked something I hadn't expected. Do you think Mrs. Klein can hear people singing in prison? I blinked. I don't know, baby. Why? She looked ahead, thoughtful. Because, even when I was in the dark and couldn't breathe, I could still hear music in my head. It helped me not be so scared. I hope she has something that helps her not be scared too. I couldn't speak. What could I say to that? After all that had been taken from her, she still had room in her heart for compassion. That's who she is. 5 years have passed since that summer afternoon. Amara is 12 now, tall, poised, unapologetically loud. She sings with a traveling youth choir that visits detention centers and shelters. She believes music belongs in the places people forget about. When people ask if I'm still angry, I tell them the truth. Anger lives inside me, yes. But so does pride. Fury that my child was hurt so deeply. But awe, pure awe, at who she has become, not in spite of what happened, but because she chose to grow through it. She took her pain and turned it into empathy. Her fear she shaped into strength. Last month she was invited to speak at a national summit on community reform. She stood in front of hundreds of leaders from across the country and said, "When I was locked in that trunk, I thought no one could hear me. But I kept singing in my head. And what I learned is this. You can lock a person away, but you can't lock away their song. You can silence a voice for a little while, but the music will always find a way out. And when it does, it's stronger, it's braver, it's louder than it was before." Right now, in our home filled with plants and art and laughter, I can hear her upstairs, singing softly as she finishes her homework. Each note floats down the hallway like a prayer answered. A reminder. That joy returned. That silence didn't win. That the trunk meant to be her prison became the start of her revolution. Victoria Klein tried to erase a little girl's voice, but all she did was unleash a symphony. And it's still growing. Note by note, voice by voice, forever.